Welcome in, everyone. This is the Conservative Crusader here in the beautiful Polaris, Ohio. We just left the Ohio Republican Party State Central Committee meeting, and we have two great members here with us, Jake and Sabrina Warner of Licking County. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Well, it's great for you to be back on. We saw some crazy stuff happen in the meeting. Let's just go through it how I can remember it. There was unanimous votes for mostly everything. I don't think there was anything contested, at least publicly. First, a vote no on issue 1 and 2. What are your thoughts on that whole process there?
Well, actually, I think I'm kind of surprised that we passed the vote no on legalizing marijuana. I was kind of surprised they brought that forward, and that it was unanimous. Obviously, we're against legalizing marijuana, but I thought these folks that know how to debate everything would be weak on this. But so that was good, and then unanimous on the vote no for November for the voting against the, a vote no is to vote against the Democrats' late term abortion stuff and mutilating children, and it's really radical, nasty thought process of what they're trying to push. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh yeah, I was glad to see that unanimously across the board we don't want to legalize marijuana, but I would also say that currently right now marijuana is legal. Regardless of what we're saying, I think it's great as a party. We're saying we don't want it to be legal. However, if you go to any community right now, I think you'll have officers tell you that prosecutors are not prosecuting this. Officers are not arresting for it. We've had many issues in our county locally in Licking where there are people that are smoking marijuana constantly. And the cop out right now is the medical card, right? It's medical marijuana, so they're able to do it. And so I am glad the party is saying that, hey, we don't want to legalize this. I think we have a bigger issue, though, that it's already legal. And there's also drugs on the street that are legal. They're not arresting even for methamphetamines. It's a slippery slope that we're in. So I think the resolutions are good. I'm glad that we are doing the resolutions, but I would like to see a little bit more meat happening inside the party as far as saying to our prosecutors and to our local communities, you guys need to start prosecuting these things because
enforce the law.
Yeah,
enforce the laws we already have.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then as far as the vote no in November, again, I think right now it's definitely about an abortion issue, but it goes much deeper than an abortion issue. It really is about the fact that we are coming up against parental rights right now. They want to take away every parental right that you possibly can take away in Ohio. And anyone who thinks that that's not coming down the pipeline, it's already here. It's in our schools. It's happening inside the justice system. It's happening inside CPS. It's happening inside with our judges and our guardian ad litems. They really are not looking at the child's best interest. They're looking at how they can continue to cause dysfunction because dysfunction gives the government money.
It's profitable.
It's very profitable to keep kids in dysfunction. So yes, abortion is a big deal for November, but it's more than just abortion, you guys. It's literally about taking away parent rights and keeping children in dysfunction so that these systems and these programs can make money off of the kids.
Absolutely right. So we also saw, speaking of the kids, a tabled motion for partisan school board races and endorsing an R and a D vote on the school board races. It was tabled, so there wasn't really a chance to vote on it. What are your thoughts on that whole process? I feel like there's a better way to go about it, but that's just my thoughts. What are yours?
I think we have to weigh in on these nonpartisan races. There's no question. We can't mess around going, school board is nonpartisan, so let's sit this one out. That's what some county party chairmen have been doing, and the Democrats are eating our lunch doing that. So we have to get involved. I'm not sure if putting an R and a D by their name is going to solve that. Because, one of the points is, like Shannon Burns made, is, he lives in a Democrat area, where you put an R, that's a guaranteed loss. So there's those areas. I think it can't be statewide. But one thing we kind of all agreed on is that we all need to get involved in school board races and township trustees and village councils. So
now, is that through money, or do you think there's other ways we can go about that as a party? Because I know the money situation isn't the greatest as well. So.
Right. Well, I think we have a lot of resources, so hopefully it will come along with providing the resources. The party has access to the database. If we could help local candidates pull their lists of the voters in their district, I think that would help majorly. And then if in some of the areas like ours where, in Licking County, if you put an R in most districts besides our school district, you're probably going to win. So if we could do an endorsement or a slate card, I think there's things we could do without just across the board putting an R next to the people we want to endorse.
I think it's interesting the perspective that people have on the school board race right now, because how many times do you see prosecutors at the county fairs, the representatives, the senators, they're all at the county fairs handing out their literature, and the party's behind them constantly, right? Like, we got to get behind these people, and we saw what happened with the Blue 22. We got behind a Republican legislation, state representatives, and they turned their back on us, but yet we're not going to pull out all the stops for local party or for local school board. And Jake and I are not necessarily a big fan of the local school board right now at all. There's a lot of issues that come with the school board, but it also is very eye-opening to me that you have the Republican Party who's not really being boisterous about getting behind the school board. So
Right.
I see both sides of it. Shannon stood up, made a really good point, but it's really interesting to me that we haven't in the past said, hey, red flag, we got to get behind these school board candidates that are more conservative, because they're literally teaching our children really radical stuff. I mean, can you imagine if we all decided that we wanted to bring a Bible back into school, or the 10 Commandments right now? I mean, we should be able to, right? With what the left is doing, what the school board's doing, they're bringing in these pornography books and not taking them out.
Right.
They're teaching family units that are not necessary. If you look at the school board right now, and you look at the curriculum of what is necessary for a kindergartner, first grade, second, third grade, elementary schools to learn, they don't have to learn about a family unit. But in our community, they're learning about a family unit, but it's not between a husband and a wife. It's between same sex, it's between grandma and whomever, and all these other things that are coming down. So we should be able to bring back the 10 Commandments in the Bible. If we're going to talk about these issues and want to bring things back into the schoolroom, we've got to quit being complacent, and we got to quit being quiet about this stuff. Our kids need to be able to hear all of it, not just the side that causes the dysfunction of it.
There's to just mention this, in Oklahoma, their state superintendent actually brought the 10 Commandments back to the classroom. They're allowing PragerU education in the classrooms. So if you don't know about Ryan Walters, I got a friend that I'll have to put you to in connection with that knows about him.
Now, why is that not something that we're getting passionate about in Ohio? Ohio is a mess right now, and
Well,
it's a mess under Republican leadership.
Because we have what was the one guy's name that stood up and said the only thing you can do is elect a superintendent and something else.
Greg Simpson.
It's not true.
It's not true.
Flat out not true. That's a lie. That's an incorrect statement.
And not to pick on Greg, because I'm sure maybe that's what he believes right now, because he said he ran for school board and he was on the school board, and maybe that's what he believed. But I'm telling you, we have been in our local school board council meetings, and they went into executive meeting before the meeting happened and made a decision to bring in a family unit that has nothing to do with teaching our kids about reading, writing, and arithmetic. There's no reason for the family unit.
And when the family unit thing came up, the guy, what's his name, Mr. Moore, stood up and said, I don't want my my daughter to learn about this. I don't want my teacher, so I want my daughter to opt out. Well, they flipped a lid about this. Just the guy that said, you guys can do that. I just don't want my daughter to learn. He got targeted.
His work. They tried to get him fired. He's a doctor.
Yeah.
He's a doctor. They called his work. They tried to get, and what I mean by they is the colorful movement, the pride movement, the movement who comes in and harasses, the love is love movement that comes in and harasses us for just saying, hey guys, we're not saying that you have to teach about the Bible and the 10 Commandments. What we're saying is you also do not have to teach about same-sex relationships. But again, in our area, we even have a track coach who is in a same-sex relationship, and he takes his daughters to drag or his children to drag shows. And so this is what you have moving into the schools and moving into the school boards. So we should be passionate about school boards. I am in agreement with that. I just find it interesting that some people have a different take on how we should be doing that. If we are going to be Republicans and we want to have a more conservative side of Ohio, then we have to start getting involved with bringing in conservatives and morals and values back to Ohio.
Absolutely. So after that discussion, there was actually a fourth issue on the table, which was the Freedom to Breathe Act by J.D. Vance. We have a great man here that helped get that across the finish line, where the Ohio Republican Party actually supported that motion by J.D. Vance. I'll let you take the mic to explain it all.
Okay. So we brought out the Freedom to Breathe Act by J.D. Vance. He's trying to pass it at the United States Senate. And so anyway, we passed a resolution to support what J.D. Vance is doing at Washington, D.C. And, you know, it was impressive that basically it was unanimous. I mean, there was no real opposition to it. And a matter of fact, they amended it to make it even stronger. They amended the resolution to make it stronger. And, hey, you know, I don't know. To me, it's we're passionate about it because Sabrina and I had a real experience with masking and lockdowns, and you know, this was a real thing that affected our business. And so for us to sit here and get canceled 2 years ago for standing up for medical freedom, and then today to be able to bring a resolution to the Republican Party that says, hey, lockdowns don't work, masking doesn't work, it's unsafe, it's bad, you know, it's hard on the kids in schools. To mask up children is literal child abuse. For us to get a resolution passed today unanimously by 66 members of the Republican Party, when you think about it, this is the same group, the Republican Central Committee, this is the same group that 4 or 5 years ago endorsed John Kasich, right? This is the same kind of group. So for us to get that group to endorse freedom to breathe and acknowledge that what Mike DeWine and Joe Biden and all those folks did, and these Dr. Vanderhoff and Amy Acton and all these people, what they did 2 years ago was a mistake. I think it's like full circle, really, because that's what got us into politics, is, you know, being shut down and seeing how terrible lockdowns are, and just standing up for freedom and seeing how, you know, we thought the Republican Party was the good guys, and they stood up for freedom, and when we went to them, they didn't offer any help.
Right.
And so for that to be where we've come from and to get this passed today, I think is huge. So
Right.
what do you think?
No, I think it's great. You think you said everything that you needed to say. And I do think it's important for people to realize that 2020 woke a lot of people up, and we do not want to get shut down again. I mean, we're actually standing in a restaurant parking spot right now doing this, and we don't want them to be shut down. We want people to be able to come and eat out, and waitresses to be able to make money, and the restaurants to make money as they see fit. And so it was terrible on families, and I was really, really thankful that they decided to pass that. So it was good.
Yeah. It's huge. And like Arthur McGuire said, fool us once, that's one thing. Fool us again, you know, we're just a bunch of total idiots if we let this happen again. Yeah. So today, we all, 100% voted for it. So it's good.
And that's good. There wasn't any major dissent on a very obvious resolution of support by our Republican senator here in Ohio. After that, they went to an executive session. I don't think anything happened after that besides the executive session. I'm not sure if you can talk about what happened in there. We weren't in the room. I wasn't in the room for that, so I'm kind of regretting not seeing that. But, you know, that's the...
Yeah, I don't think there's nothing really that happened after that. That's, you know, they just did the treasurer report, and they did we tried to pass a resolution to kind of clarify what we're going to do with some party resources, databases, and that sort of thing. That got tabled, because that's what happens every time something gets a little too hairy or it's getting out of the control. They got to table it to buy some time. That's what they did, which means there's no policy for that. So the policy was, before there was no policy, we were trying to create one. There's no policy, so it's basically a free-for-all with those resources. And so
personally, I think what's going on right now with the resources is that the Republican moderates didn't realize how much the conservatives, we're called radical conservatives, right? That the conservatives are really tired of what happened in 2020. And so we came out from behind our jobs, from behind, you know, our equipment that we're running, our family, and we said, hey, we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. And so what I mean by they, the moderates, the swamp, the people that think they're in charge right now, want to make sure that us radical conservatives are calmed down a little bit. And so today the executive session was fine. It just shows me, and I hope shows them, that we're not letting up. We do not want any more type of tyranny acts at all in Ohio, in the United States, period. And we want to stay red. We don't want to be purple. We don't want to go into a moderate big tent idea. We really want Republicans to be Republicans. If you want to be a Democrat, that's your choice. You can go on that side and do that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why they have a tent for you. But so yeah.
We are good with a big tent. We just don't want it to become like the circus tent with the bearded lady and all the things that happens at the circus. There's ways to be a Republican,
Yeah.
and so especially a Republican candidate, you've got to be pro-life. You've got to be pro-Second Amendment. You really need to be for medical freedom.
And for morals
And
and
if you're
values, for
not,
goodness sakes.
the other tent is the Democrat Party. We believe so.
All right. Well, that's pretty much everything that happened at the meeting, and I appreciate you joining us. Where can people find you on social media and the internet and all that fun stuff?
Our website is votewarner.life, and you can find us on Facebook at Jake and Sabrina. Yeah, Republicans Jake and Sabrina Warner for Central Committee.
Very long title, but it's everything in there. Thank you for joining me today, Jake and Sabrina. Great to see
Thank you, Josh. Always good to see you.
you too.